Nation front page looks like this. The headline is Politics of Betrayal. We have no eternal allies and we have no perpetual enemies. Our interests are eternal and perpetual. Second nature, Kenya's political script is replete with scenes of deceit and betrayal, with many a politician often breaking agreements and throwing their close allies under the bus to protect their own interests, from our founding fathers to the current crop of leaders playing dirty and nasty is the nature of the game. When I see politics of deceit and betrayal, it reminds me of now President, then Deputy President William Ruto on the campaign trail when he accused then President Uhuru Kenyatta of betraying him. And we have 2 years highlighted on the front page. That is 1966 and 2022. In 1966, Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga resigned after falling out with President Jomo Kenyatta. 2022, President Uhuru Kenyatta turned on his deputy, William Ruto, and backed Azimio's Raila Odinga. There are those ages which were given by Moses Kuria. There I see a very young-looking Kalonzo Musyoka, a head full of hair. On the front page there, I see Martin Shukuku, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Martha Karua, Eugene, not Eugene Wamalwa, I beg your pardon, his late brother. Raila, much younger Raila Odinga on the front page there as well. The late George Saitoti, much younger Charity Ngilu as well, not that we age. But yeah, so that is the front page. We'll flip over to pages 4 and 5 and get a bit more detail. But also on the front page of the Daily Nation, we have the story. Osinde was killed at home, then dumped in river, say detectives. Former Treasury official Tom Mokaya Osinde was killed at his home in Ngata Estate, Nakuru County, before his body was taken to Kisii County and dumped in Gucha River. Detectives investigating the murder have revealed that Osinde's body was transported to Kisii, many kilometers from his Ngata home, in his Land Cruiser vehicle. All right, Twitter rival Threads crosses 10 million users within hours of launch. The app went live on Apple and Android app stores in 100 countries on Wednesday. And we see an image here of the President William Ruto in Comoros. President William Ruto with his Comoros counterpart Azali Assoumani at Independence Square in Moroni yesterday during the Indian Ocean Islands 48th Independence Day celebrations. Kenya Comoros to lift visa rule. At the very top here, will implement tea laws from next week, says the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and that is as the tea sector reforms conference takes place in Kericho. Okay, let's take a look at the front page of the Taifa Leo. But even as I flip over, I'm curious whether the two panelists I have in studio, David and Benjamin, are you one of the 10 million users who've downloaded the app Threads? I'll start with you, Benjamin.
Well, good morning, Olive.
Good morning.
Thank you for hosting me today.
Karibu sana.
I am usually slow in looking at new things, so I'm yet to download it. Okay. I'm still looking at how things are going before finally I try it out. At the moment, I'm still loyal to Twitter.
Okay. How about you, David?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm not among the 10 million new subscribers to the Threads. I'm still, just like my friend here, we are still studying the trends and see how the Threads will flow. Okay, yes. All
right. You and me both. But I'm really, because I'm feeling a lot of peer pressure from WhatsApp messages and things. I am likely very soon to jump on that bandwagon. All right, front page of the Taifa Leo. And as usual, Taifa Leo does not mince its words. Kibarua cha Azimio Saba Saba. And I see on one side of the page, we have the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, as you can read on the badges across his chest there. Viongozi wa serikali wasema wataruhusu mkutano wa Kamkunji pekee, bali si maandamano, huku upinzani ukisisitiza utaanza mapambano ya kote nchini. And then, okay, so the government says they will allow the Kamkunji meeting, but not protests across the country. And at the top here, I read a sentence that says, Muungano wa Raila warejelea maandamano ya kupinga sera za Kenya Kwanza, huku ukikabiliwa na upinzani mkali. So that is the front page of the Taifa Leo. But I would be remiss in not mentioning this. Siku ya Kiswahili duniani, sherehe zaandaliwa kwenye kwingi Kenya na kwingineko ulimwenguni kukienzi Kiswahili kwa mwaka wa pili tangu siku hii ibuniwe na UNESCO. All right, there we go. Siku ya Kiswahili duniani, World Kiswahili Day. And I've seen my colleagues, exhorting people to celebrate their language. I will also try my best on this World Kiswahili Day. All right, so that is the Taifa Leo. Let's take a look at the Business Daily. Business Daily front page, Naivas founders eye 5.8 billion shillings as foreigners seize control. This is the third time that family is selling shares. Mauritius conglomerate to control 51% stake after deal. This particular story penned by Victor Juma, and it tells us the family of Peter Mukuha Kago, the founder of Naivas, is set to sell an extra 11% stake in the company for an estimated 5.8 billion shillings in a deal that will see investors take controlling ownership of Kenya's largest supermarket chain. This will be the third time the Mukuhas will be selling their shares in Naivas, which has become an investor's magnet on the back of profitability and market share growth. The latest proposed deal has been disclosed by Mauritanian conglomerate IBL Group, which is part of a consortium that bought a combined 40% stake in Naivas last year for 21.4 billion shillings at current exchange rates. Okay, also sharing the front page with that particular story is this one by Kefa Mwiruri. Public officers to declare spouses' income assets in graft purge. And the first few paragraphs read as such. Public officers will disclose all their spouses, their income and assets alongside their dependent children in their wealth declaration forms if a proposed law that seeks to manage conflict of interest in public office is approved. The Conflict of Interest Bill 2023 also requires public officers to disclose the occupation of their spouse or spouse's income and type of income, financial assets held, debtors, intellectual properties, and creditors. Corruption investigations and court cases involving public officers suggest an emerging pattern of spouses and children being used to hide corruptly acquired wealth to beat the existing laws. There's a quote here, and this is the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah. Public officers are hiding proceeds of corruption in the names of their spouses as legitimate wealth made by their spouses. The disclosure of the spouse's occupation indicates their possible or potential sources of income. Under the new bill, a public officer will, within 30 days of the appointment, be required to fill a form from the EACC declaring the financial affairs over the 1-year period preceding their appointment. Gentlemen, I'm curious whether you view this as a welcome proposal, and I'll start with you, David. Your thoughts?
It is definitely, I agree with the proposal to have our spouses, we know their wealth, we know how much they are worth at the time that we assume office in serving the public, because you realize that most of these public officers, they hide their ill-gotten wealth in their spouses and their children who are above 18. Of course, some of them take them to foundations and so and so. So this proposal of making our spouses or the spouses of the public officers be accountable to the public, that we know how much they are worth. In my wife, I know people know that this is the time, this is the amount of money or amount of wealth that she had at the time that I was assuming office. And up to now, this is the amount that she also has, so that we don't have people. I don't think there's anybody who is foolish enough serving in public who want to make money. Definitely, people get into public offices to make money, either in salaries or deals. That's the reality. There's nobody going there to serve. You serve. Human beings are difficult people to serve sometimes. 2020 years ago. Jesus Christ came try to save the same very people. What did they do to him? They actually killed him. And you realize that sometimes when you give yourself to serve the public, and people who are honest in public service are the people who suffer the most. So people have realized in the modern century that sometimes when you get into government, it is no longer about you serving the people. So people get in there to make money. And if these monies can be traced to you, you find your partner, you put some wealth in her, or you put some wealth in them. In fact, there are people even put them in their side partners, either side chick or tomboys, or whichever name
you have to indicate your spouse says, not just your spouse.
The spouses, they're just peppers.
Those are also factored in. But David, am I hearing you correctly saying that you're trying to justify these sorts of actions when you're saying people are difficult to serve and saying even look at what happened to Jesus?
And it is true. And my friend here will agree. There is an ideal and there is a reality on the ground. The ideal is that when we get into public office, everybody gets water, they get medicine, we have good roads, our taxes are well accounted for, everything is heavenly, everything is rosy. But what happens? It's when the wedding now, everything, the candle goes down, you go to the honeymoon and begin running the family. You realize that things are not the same way that you thought. And that is exactly even what happened to the same government that when they promised. And that is exactly, in fact, the best example we can give to this is the current Kenya Kwanza government, so that you understand that context clearly. That when during the time of campaign, there were beautiful promises that everybody was promised something. Even those who were in oppositions were saying, okay, even though we are here, but this guy, we'd love also to test his leadership because he's got very good proposals on how he will run his government. What happens 8 months after elections? Everybody's crying. So
maybe not everybody. Maybe not everybody. Benjamin, let me have Benjamin come in at this point. Benjamin, is this a welcome move? Public officers to declare spouses' income assets in graft purge. That is the proposal.
Olive, you realize that President Ruto is a man who is out to ride on a legacy that will be transparent and accountable. And even when you look at the mover of this bill, the majority leader in the National Assembly, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, he's the one moving this bill. And this is a step in the right direction. Because I think for the first time, it's important that public servants go out there to put the best foot forward to serve, not to create a mass and generate wealth. Actually, in Kenya for a long time, in our country, for the longest time, Olive, you'll agree with me that people, quote unquote, are out to make money. Make. Not work and earn money. They're out to make money, which is something that the Kenya Kwanza administration is very, very much committed to just undo, so that if you are given an opportunity to occupy any public office, you are first of all mandated to go and serve. The money you get from that is proceeds of the service you rendered. And I think this is a welcome move, so that I don't get into office somewhere and within 1 year I have amassed so much wealth and so much influence and so much power, and because I know I will be followed, I'll be held accountable, I start hiding that money through proxies, my spouses. You find a man is known to only have one wife, but we have some fringe spouses out there, or a woman has some fringe husbands out there who also have money in his name or assets in his name. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and this government, President William Ruto's government, is dedicated to make sure that accountability is achieved.
Okay. Nuruddin, karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. And I just want to highlight a couple of things before I allow you to respond to this. Also on the front page of the Business Daily on the ticker, how heavy borrowing is crowding private sector out of debt market. The World Bank has cautioned the Kenyan government over persistent crowding out of the private sector from the local debt market due to heavy borrowing from the domestic market. Meta takes on Twitter with rival app Thread. Kenyans were among millions of consumers worldwide who opened accounts on a new social media app launched by Facebook parent Meta Threads, an application aimed at taking on Twitter. And lastly, on the front page of the Business Daily, new 70 billion shilling syndicated loan eases Kenya's forex woes. And some detail contained on the front page here. Syndicate the 70.4 billion shilling syndicated loan Kenya has secured from a consortium of international lenders has effectively rolled over external debt repayments of a similar margin that are due this month, relieving the Central Bank of Kenya from taking a hit on its forex reserves. All right, so that is the ticker. And before I move on to the Standard, Rudin, your thoughts on this proposal for public officers to declare their spouse's income assets in graph purge. But first tell us, are you among the 10 million new subscribers to Threads?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
I might be by the end of the day. It depends with how things go. Well, you see, that proposal is more or less like the lifestyle audit we've always talked about. And this comes after we had issues where a non-CS, after declaring her income, or rather her wealth, invaded the house at night after months of being in office. And that tells us a lot. We need to understand the amount of money people are making in this country at the end of the day. They talked about how people get into office to make money. The problem is that we don't have a difference between a politician and a leader in Kenya. And that is, he talked about the ideal situation and vitu kwa ground.
Yes, yes.
You see, we cannot allow ourselves to live in a situation where we say this is ideal, but this is what is happening, and we're okay with that. Unless we change that, we'll never be able to fight corruption. I believe whatever is being done is actually good, in as much as it will solve those who, it will reduce the problems during burials when we see people coming up to say they're also spouses and they have children. When they declare them in early enough is actually better. But I believe we need to solve corruption so that when we move forward, seeing that the government wants to collect taxes and it's looking for money. If you collect taxes with loopholes, it means that money is going to be stolen. So it's a good idea. Practicability is what we're waiting to see. Seeing that most members of parliament, how they behave, it will be interesting to see how they vote and how they debate it in parliament.
All right. Rudin, I can't believe you went there. Anyway, front page of the Standard, Ruto's radical CBC shake-up. They tell us wakuna mwa Kenya, new education reforms proposal seen by the Standard reveal drastic changes, including on competency-based curriculum, and we'll see a return of national exams, sky-high cost of implementing system, and scrapping of national schools, even as TSC's powers are eroded, with the ministry assuming quality assurance functions. This is spread out through pages 6, 7, 8, and 9 of the Standard categorization of schools, end of national, extra county, county, and sub-county category of schools. Let me just zoom in a little closer to make it easier for us to make out what is written. I hope that is slightly better. Let me zoom in one more time. There we go. All right, so there's the categorization of schools, a subject reduction, fewer subjects for learners from 8 to 7 in lower primary, from 10 to 8 in upper primary, 12 to 9 in junior secondary, only 7 subjects in senior secondary. Teachers, all teachers to undergo mandatory retraining on CBC. TSC to oversee remuneration of pre-primary teachers, previously done by county governments. I'm sure the ECD teachers could welcome that. On exams, more weight on final examination. 70% senior secondary, 70% of final score from final exam, and 30% from school-based assessment. 60% junior secondary, 60% from final exams, 40% from school-based assessment. Quality assurance, TSC stripped off quality assurance mandate. Responsible officers to be moved to the Ministry of Education. New funding model, capitation reviewed, and a flat rate per student introduced for all schools regardless of the population. Pre-primary, 1,170 per student, and it goes on all the way to special needs at 18,000. When I scroll towards the far right, there is a quote here, and this is of President William Ruto. The transition to CBC is a big plus, and there could have been some missteps in the process. Maybe we could have taken an extra year or two to ensure we get the teachers and other stakeholders on board, but now that is water under the bridge. There he is, that image of him there, an image of a teacher with her students here. So the Standard tells us and that these are Wakona Mwakenya, and these are the recommendations of that task force set up to review CBC, the competency-based curriculum, Ruto's radical CBC shakeup, exclusive. All right, so through those pages I mentioned there. And at the very top here of the Standard, inside today's Azimio Saba Saba protests, and we'll take a look at that as we get deeper into the topic of conversation this morning. As I said, today the rubber meets the road. Let's wrap up the newspaper review. The other articles we'll refer to as we chat. And, I beg your pardon, the Star front page. As I load that, let's take a look at the People Daily. And the People Daily headline is this: higher pay for civil servants to cost 3.8 billion shillings. Relief for government workers. Teachers to be biggest winners if proposals by salaries team are adopted. New pay could take effect this month, cushioning staff from the high cost of living. I see an MCA here because we're looking at matters education who stated, I'll get an E, but will still sit for Form 4 exam. That's an MCA there. That report I listened to on the Senate Evolution Committee. There's a gentleman who's very passionate who said the SRC views them as uneducated. So interesting comparison there. Police killed 20 Al-Shabaab in shootout. That was our top story last night and this morning. Raila set to lead Saba Saba rally in Kamkunji today. Azimio MPs from Nairobi addressed the media yesterday ahead of today's Saba Saba rally at the Kamkunji grounds. They asked like-minded Kenyans to protest wherever they will be. At a glance, let's see, this is to do with the civil servants' pay. Just zoom in a little closer. There we go. 3.84 billion shillings is the amount government will spend to pay civil servants per month after salary reviews. 846,720 what the highest paid civil servant at PS level will earn if SRC plan is implemented. 17.8 billion shillings amount that teachers will earn collectively every month. A new structure, the biggest portion, 584,740 proposed pay for Job Group T, that is administrative secretaries, regional commissioners, etc. 216,499 minimum directors, county commissioners, and others in Job Group S will take home. 218,450 lowest proposed pay for Job Group R, senior deputy directors and deputy directors. 2025 year when proposals for the third cycle will be completed after starting in 2021. Let's wrap up with this stuff because I know I am overdue for a break. The headline here is Spotlight on Size of Ruto's Executive After CAS Verdict. I know Advice Mundalo wanted to say something on this. He's not yet here, but I hope he's not too far. Some lawyers say Musalia job 51 PS is not contemplated in law. I wonder what my panelists think. Is Musalia Mudavadi in the crosshairs on account of his prime cabinet secretary position not being envisioned in the Constitution? Some have argued. It tells us lawyers. We have a lawyer in studio at Atwambia. 33rd anniversary, Raila plots CBD march during Saba Saba rally. Azimio la Umoja on Thursday made a last call to supporters to throng the historic Kamkunji grounds for what it termed as the launch of the third revolution. Opposition MPs led by Nairobi ODM chair George Aladwa said all is set for the Friday Saba Saba rally. I think I will leave it there. Judges said 22 cabinet secretaries cannot be deputized by 50 CASs. All right, I will leave it there. We take a break. We come back. We comment on this, just this particular headline on the Star, and then we get into the meat of the discussion. And just a reminder of what we are discussing this morning. The rubber has met the road. All right. Can Azimio convert public discontent over the Finance Act of 2020?